What's up, guys? Welcome to the video. My channel is College Football Frenzy, back with another video, and today I'm going to be breaking down my predictions for week 1 of the SEC college football season. Now, obviously, the SEC is known as the best conference in college football, and these first couple weeks of the college football season haven't felt the same without the SEC. That being said, the SEC starts soon, which is great. It's going to have a 10-game conference schedule for each team, and I decided I would break down each week of the SEC college football season. This week I'll do week 1, next week I'll do week 2, and so on. But I'm very excited to do this. To start off the season, most teams have pretty easy games, or most of the games, I should say, are pretty one-sided. It's pretty easy to choose. But with that being said, I decided I'd just break down every game and show you who I think will win. But without further ado, let's get into it. And I just want to say this probably will be a pretty short video because I already have predicted a lot of these games in my team predictions for each SEC team. So it's going to be a quick video. And again, a lot of these games are obvious, so it won't be too long. All right, starting off, Alabama at Missouri. Obviously, this was an added game onto the SEC schedule. These two are not supposed to play this year, but because of the two added extra conference games, these two now meet up. So I think Missouri is definitely one of the worst teams in the SEC. No offense to Missouri, but I just don't think they can compare to some of the top teams in the conference. They have a new head coach. Their talent isn't the greatest. They don't have a great recruiting class, so they don't look like a very good football team this year. Alabama, on the other hand, is a very good football team, as always. They're going to be a playoff contender. They have a lot of talent. Of course, they lost a lot of talent, but that's not really a problem because they get great new talent coming in every year. And I'm excited to see how the quarterback situation goes between Bryce Young and Mac Jones. So that'll be exciting. But overall, Alabama clearly the better team here. I'll take the Crimson Tide. Georgia versus Arkansas. So this is an easy one to pick. That being said, it's a little bit interesting because Sam Pittman, the head coach of Arkansas, obviously prior to going to Arkansas, he was an associate coach at Georgia. So he has some ties to this Georgia football team. But that being said, obviously Georgia is much more talented. They had the number 1 recruiting class in the nation this past season. They have pretty good returning talent, losing a couple key pieces on the offense, but overall they're going to be a fairly good football team, a playoff contender. Arkansas, on the other hand, I think they'll improve, but still nowhere near as good as Georgia, so I'll take the Dogs here. All right, Kentucky versus Auburn. This one's a little bit more interesting. I think Auburn, clearly talent-wise, is the better football team, and it's going to be home for them. That being said, I think Kentucky can definitely put up a test. So I don't think this will be a very easy game for Auburn. I do think it could get competitive. That being said, I just think Auburn overall is probably the more talented team, so I'll go Auburn. They just have to worry about some issues maybe on the defensive front. Obviously, losing Derek Brown was tough, but their offense looks pretty good. So I think Auburn will get the job done here. But I am going to say it could be close. All right, next game, Florida at Ole Miss. If this was in the middle of the season, I would say Ole Miss might have a chance to make things close. But I feel like it being Lane Kiffin's first game as a head coach at Ole Miss, it's going to take time for him to get used to it there. So I think Florida, with their talent, wins this one pretty easily. And obviously, like Alabama and Georgia, Florida is a very big playoff contender. So they're not going to be messing around. I think they win this one fairly easily. LSU versus Mississippi State. So the defending champions playing their first game at home against Mississippi State. This one's pretty interesting. You know, LSU did lose a lot of talent, and Mississippi State has a new head coach in Mike Leach, very interesting head coach. So it'll be nice to see this matchup. I want to see how Mike Leach does as a head coach at Mississippi State. And I also want to see how LSU can do against an average SEC team, how their team is going to look this year, because it's very different from last year. Even besides all those players who left for the draft, you have a couple opt-outs now, like Jamar Chase and Kerry Vincent Jr. So a very different team from last year. I definitely favor LSU despite all the key losses. I think overall they just have a decent enough amount of returning talent and a great head coach to make it so they'll win at home. But if Mississippi State, if they make it close, I wouldn't be shocked. Again, LSU's lost a lot of talent, but I'll go the Tigers here. All right, Tennessee at South Carolina. This one, another matchup that could be fairly intriguing. Tennessee, clearly the better team here in my opinion. I think they've just got a lot better talent. That being said, we started last year. Tennessee choked in a couple of early season games against not great teams. It could happen again this year. You never know. And South Carolina still is a decent team at the end of the day. They just suffer from having a terribly hard schedule each season. So I think this one with South Carolina being at home, it could be closer than people expect. That being said, I'll favor Tennessee here. I'm going to pick the Volunteers to win. And the final game, probably one of the easiest to pick, Vanderbilt at Texas A&M. Vanderbilt's probably the worst team in the SEC. I don't think they're winning a game this season. So Texas A&M at home here very easily, probably by 4 or 5 touchdowns. It won't be close at all, maybe more than 5 touchdowns to be honest. But overall, that is my predictions for the SEC Week 1. Alabama over Missouri, Georgia over Arkansas, Auburn over Kentucky, Florida over Ole Miss, LSU over Mississippi State, Tennessee over South Carolina, and Texas A&M over Vanderbilt. But anyway, guys, that's it for now. Thank you for joining in. Please make sure to like and subscribe, check out my other videos, and have a good day.